All right, well, he is a renowned trial lawyer turned author, and he's in Chicago today to launch his debut historical mystery. So joining me now is Jonathan Putnam. He's got his new book. There you see it. It's called These Honor Dead. Thanks for coming in. You got a big launch tonight.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. You've been making the rounds. Tell us about this, because it's you're a history buff. We'll start there with about Abraham Lincoln. What made you so interested in him?
Well, so I was a trial lawyer for 20 years in New York City, and I also always really wanted to be an author, and so I decided that I would write a historical mystery story. And young Abraham Lincoln, who was a lawyer before he became a politician and before he became president, I thought that would be an interesting character to focus on.
You've been studying him for a while, then?
I have been, and certainly for the last 5 years I've done a lot of research into him and into a less-known figure, but also a really interesting real-life figure, a guy named Joshua Speed, who was his real-life best friend. And so my mystery story, and it's going to be a series, features the two of them, Lincoln and Speed. Okay,
so give us sort of a brief synopsis of this. There's a little girl goes murdered.
Right, exactly.
And they call him on.
Right. So the story is loosely based on cases that Lincoln actually handled in his legal career. Two children who are orphans are murdered, and suspicion falls on a woman who Speed used to be his lover, and so Speed convinces Lincoln to represent her because she's going to be accused of committing this crime, and Speed is convinced that she's actually innocent.
Interesting. So how did you combine your time as a trial attorney in a courtroom in the book?
Right, and so part of it is there is actually a trial in the case. Lincoln represents the person who's accused of the murders. Also, I guess that's the main way that there's the law.
And you've gotten great reviews. In fact, one of them I read said it's like you're opening up a 19th century journal. It's so accurate in the facts that you've put in there that people are really taking note of that.
Yeah, I think that's been something that's been really effective. Joshua Speed in real life was Abraham Lincoln's best friend. But at the time that the books were set is 1837. It's before Lincoln is married to Mary Todd, and the two of them actually shared a room and shared a bed, which was not uncommon at the time, shared a bed for 4 years in Springfield on the American frontier. And so what I tried to do for the readers is give them the experience of being on the shoulder of the best friend of the most famous person in American history as a young person.
And you had a challenge here because you didn't want to make it a historical lesson. That's a genre that people go seeking out. You had to find that balance between history and accuracy, but something that's going to keep people turning the pages.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that's why I say it's loosely based on an actual Lincoln case. Most of Lincoln's cases were pretty dry. He was a very prolific lawyer, but he was mostly representing people fighting over who owned a $3 hog. And I think that would be a very interesting mystery story to read. And so it's a murder mystery.
But how cool for you that you get to pursue this dream of yours as an author, but using and drawing on your expertise in the courtroom.
Yeah, exactly. So my main job for 25 years working at the law firm of Kirkland & Ellis, my main job was to be a storyteller. I had to take my client's case, tell it to the jury in a way that was convincing to the jury. And so in a lot of ways I'm doing the exact same thing here. I'm working as a storyteller. I'm telling a story that will hopefully be interesting and convincing to you as the reader, except instead of telling my client's story, I'm telling my own story.
Very cool. Well, tell us where we can find your book, and tell us about the launch you're doing tonight very quickly.
Okay, great. So my book is available anywhere books are sold, online or in retail stores. I'm doing an event tonight at 57th Street Books at 6 p.m. I'll be talking with the historical novelist Susanna Calkins, and I think we should have a great conversation about history and novels and mysteries and the intersection of those things.
Very cool. I'm intrigued. I'm going to check it out for sure. Like I was saying, we get a lot of books that float through here, but I'm going to pick this one up. Jonathan Putnam, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.